Well, we only have one movie to talk about,
Yes.
and that is Scream 4.
Yes.
Now, kids love the Scream.
Kids love the Scream.
You love the Scream.
I actually did. 3, not so much. 2 was good. 3, not so much. Scream was ahead of its time. I mean, Scream was, to be a sort of meta about a genre, and then a genre happens was sort of started with Scream, and it was a really great movie.
Yeah, it was a great movie because the whole meta self-referential thing was a little fresh at that time.
Yeah.
Now it's basically old hat. Everything's all meta whatever and circling back on the wacky, and it's now the challenge 10 years or whatever after Scream 3 is how do you freshen it up for a new generation? And I go into the screening, and we'll talk about it, the movie in a second. I go into the screening, the publicist hands me this piece of paper, which I will now read to you because I've just learned how to read. And I want to test it out.
That's how good the movie is. You learned how to read.
Yes, it was subtitled. This is what they handed me. This is no joke. Dear journalist, we are so thrilled, we are so thrilled to be able to show you Scream 4. Wanted to make sure to explain that due to the secretive nature of this movie, we would really appreciate if your reviews and stories don't give away any of the secretive plot points, kills, and of course, the killer. We empower you to help keep this exciting and mysterious for all the fans and moviegoers. As movie fans yourselves, maybe not so much nowadays, but as movie fans yourselves, sucker punch, I'm sure you know how important it is to be able to experience the thrills of a film like this as intended. Thank you so much.
Interesting.
This was handed to us by the good people at Dimension.
Have you ever gotten anything like that for any movies? I mean, you don't tease anyway. You know not to give away spoilers, right?
Well,
as critics.
Yeah, look, there have been some famous instances. Most famously, Gene Siskel giving away the ending of The Crying Game, where sometimes there are critics who give away the endings of films. Yeah. Rather rare. The problem is that nowadays it's not just film critics from outlets that are known, nationally known. Now you get these basement bloggers in their underwear saying, dude, I know who did it.
Right, exactly. And theoretically, actually now it's all that information's out on the web now. I mean, there are a bunch of people that are like, here's what happened.
Well, what's funny is that, well, you're right. And with this, though, what's funny is that they did not allow +1s.
Interesting.
There was no +1s. You had to go yourself. And the reason you had to go yourself is because maybe they trust me not to give it away, but whatever floozy I take to the screening, assuming she can type, she might give it away.
Crazy, yeah.
You just don't know who the +1s are going to be. So they really locked it down. There were no +1s. Yeah. They handed out this thing, and in the end, the butler did it. There was no butler. There was nobody named Butler in the movie.
Quick.
It's a wacky nutty.
So quick.
Yes.
I was supposed to actually go to this screening on Tuesday. I was in San Francisco, so even on TRS, we had a nice lady from Latino Review come in and guest review it with the other two guys. So I have seen their reviews. I'm interested to hear what you thought about it because there were very specific feelings about the movie. So I'm very interested to see what you thought about it.
Well, I would like you to review the film as if you've seen it. Let's do that.
I felt like all of the kills were
fantastic. All right, well, the film picks up pretty much 10 years after Scream 3. Sydney, who is played by Neve Campbell, returns to Woodboro 10 years after the Scream 3. She wrote a book about her ordeal, and now she comes back to plug the book. And of course, wherever Sydney goes, Ghostface follows. The cast is broken up into sort of two factions. There's the old guard, which are the ones from the old film, which includes obviously Neve Campbell. Also includes David Arquette, who plays now Sheriff Dewey. And Sheriff Dewey is now married to, what's her name, Courtney Cox, who plays a former...
Although not anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure what the status of their relationship is. But Courtney Cox plays a former investigative reporter who is sort of itching to get back into the game now that the killer is back in town. So let's take a look at a clip, and then we'll talk about what I thought, and we'll talk about what Alex thinks he thought.
Amazing.
So 2 of you got phone calls?
Yeah, us too. What's your favorite scary movie?
It was the killer's voice. From Stab, or, I mean, you know, from your life. I'm Kirby, by the way. I'm their friend.
And the killer didn't call you?
No. Is that a bad thing? Does that mean that I'm not gonna live as long as these two?
No. Maybe. Of course not. Just be careful.
Oh my God, did you hear that? I'm gonna be next.
Now, the new guard of the cast is led by Emma Roberts, who plays the cousin of Nev Campbell's character, and Hayden Panettiere is also there, and a bunch of other nubile teens who exist to do what in a film like this?
Be stabbed and have sex.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
I make movies.
You know what? You should direct Scream 5.
I should. I'd just be like, take off your shirt and be stabbed in the face.
There it is.
Scene.
Now, the movie sort of straddles that line. The movie really isn't bad. It straddles the line between comfortably old school and sort of new school. The movie was directed by Wes Craven, who directed all of them. He directed the original. Wes Craven is 71 years old, and Kevin Williamson, who wrote the original, is 46 years old. So here you get a bunch of people from sort of an older generation who are comfortable in this. You can tell that they're writing this and directing this almost from sense memory. They're comfortable in this world, and we're sort of comfortable being in this world. Their challenge is that how do you update this to a younger generation who is all meted out at this point. So the whole idea that you can write a movie that references, blogging and iPhone apps and that kind of stuff. How do you incorporate that into the film so it doesn't feel like it's just thrown in there to update it? I have to say that they didn't do a very good job of incorporating all this newfound technology into the plot. There were some pretty trenchant zingers, which I think is sort of Williamson and Wes Craven kind of getting out their little bitter feelings about torture porn and where society is going. And I like that. The movie does have an old school 80s horror film feel to it. So I thought the film was basically okay. It's the thing where, is it scary enough? Again, Wes Craven does this sort of stuff in his sleep. He did, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street and all the other Scream films, Hills Have Eyes. So he can do this stuff in his sleep. So yes, is it scary enough? Kind of. Will it resonate with a younger generation who will maybe now want to see more and more of these? Probably not.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they thought of on your show.
Well, the guys actually, one of the things, it's funny they brought up the scary thing because across the board, all the guys from TRS basically just said, it's not a horror movie. It's not really scary at all. There's really nothing scary about the movie. It's, Dan, my buddy Dan Trachtenberg, who's one of the co-hosts of TRS, loved it. Loved it. Favorite Scream movie. I mean, he was like, this is how, sequels should be done. He loved it. Jeff liked it a lot, but but that was one thing that they said was they were like, it's not a scary movie.
Because you know what?
But also they were saying people are desensitized, and the funny thing is that they had even said that became a referential thing. This one kill, somebody got stabbed, and he was like, oh, it's just a stabbing? That's kind of lame. And then right at the end it was like, well, people are just desensitized and they think a stabbing is just nothing. And it's like, that's exactly what I was thinking when that scene happened. You know what I mean?
But that's what brought this whole torture porn thing on, because it is so difficult now to get audiences to respond to this sort of stuff. And the thing with Wes Craven is, the great thing about him is that he sort of helped perfect the modern way of telling these stories with the boo moments and the things coming out of, it was done before that, but in a modern sense, he helped perfect that.
Oh, yeah.
With the music stings, the stuff coming out of drawers, and you open the door and there's nobody there, and then you close the door and the guy's right behind. He helped introduce that to a modern audience.
Yeah.
But the downside is that that's the only way he knows how to tell that particular story.
Yeah.
So
I
he
think
can't
we're
update
a little bit more desensitized to that kind of jump.
Because he can't update his technique
Yeah.
for an audience that now thinks that a Saw film constitutes horror.
Yeah.
Because the thing is the thing with the Saw films and with modern horror now is that there's a difference between horror and tension. Tension is very hard to do.
Right.
If you just want to disembowel somebody,
Right.
like a torture porn film,
I think there's Adobe filters for that,
there's
right? I mean, it's
there's
like
Adobe
you can do that. It's like, oh, there comes the link.
I don't see the filmmaking prowess in that.
Right.
Now, tension, that's something different. That's what
Right.
Hitchcock does. If you want to watch a film like Alien, the original Alien.
Right.
The original Alien is just nothing but just tense.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily that violent, except for a couple scenes.
Couple exploding people,
But
but
it's
yeah.
just nothing but tension, and that is editing and camera movement and music and performance and all
Sound
this
design,
stuff and
that
sound
stuff is
design.
big.
It's all got to come
Yeah.
together. So I think that a lot of these torture porn guys don't really know how to do that. So I think the hope was that maybe Wes Craven would come back and show these young whippersnappers how it's done.
Yeah.
But in the end, Wes Craven, who again is 71, he can only really tell a story this way.
Yeah.
But that being said, I sort of liked being back in this world. I was
Yeah.
okay with it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm definitely going to see it. I mean, from what I've heard, it's definitely worth a watch. So I'm excited to see it this weekend, as you all should do. I guess I don't know. I don't know if we were recommending it or not. I was just sort of like,
Whoa, wait a second.
Okay.
Well, we have a system here.
oh, you have a system.
Yes.
Okay.
We think
a
these
series
things
of
out.
clicks and buzzes.
Exactly. A series of ones and zeros. Buy, rent, or burn.
Oh, okay.
Either buy it, meaning go see it.
Yeah.
Rent it, meaning meh. Or burn it, forget it.
Yeah.
Now, because basically Wade Major, who usually sits in your
Yeah.
chair, Wade is a hater.
Got it.
Now,
He gave 2 buys this year. He gave 2 buys this year.
he's seen 30 films. He gave 2
He
buys,
gave 2 guys. Source Code, right?
which is terrific.
was a
Yeah,
buy,
okay,
and
love
the Soul Surfer was a buy. Those
Yeah.
were 2 buys of the year.
Was Soul Surfer the one with the chick with one arm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that out yet?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
He gave it
When
a
did
buy,
it
which
come out? I
means
wanna
go to
see
the
that.
theaters and see it. Mark, what are you saying?
I'm saying it's a rent. I will give Scream
Oh.
4 a rent.
All right.
Interesting.
Hold on, let's get
Now, because the
I will
thing is-
probably rent it, so that works.
well, no, because people just assume that the right up their butt film critics would
Got
hate
it.
it.
Yeah.
Not true.
Interesting.
I thought it was a rent.
Amazing.
And the people over at your show would
Yeah,
probably
Dan was like, buy. Go right now and see it. He was like, I'm in. Jeff probably was. I'm in too. I think everybody was. Everybody was like, go see it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's hard to say where horror's going to go from here. I mean, I think that the Scream things sort of have their own little corner of the universe.
Yeah.
It's not something that can really be copied necessarily.
Yeah.
You really need to find a new way to tell these stories, and I think that now that torture porn has sort of run its course,
Yeah.
it's got to be something else.
It does feel like it's kind of going out. That
You know.
the sort of thrillers are sort of back. Suspense thrillers.
You know what? And the thing is that people tend to think that suspense thrillers are for adults.
Yeah.
But that's just not true because again, if you are just ratcheted into your seat for 2 hours, I mean that
Yeah.
is really good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't get films like that much anymore. Because and then the soft. It's really horror has just really been devalued.
Yeah.
It's just not the genre. It's not a genre that attracts the quality of filmmakers
Right.
that it should.
Right, yeah,
Because it's
well.
considered low budget.
Definitely.
And you get a lot of companies like Dimension and early Lionsgate
Mm-hmm.
and those guys who would just crank these things out because they were cheap.
Yep.
And kids would go see them and they're
Yep.
easy to scare.
Yep.
And they don't really attract world-class filmmakers, which is too bad.
Yeah, because
Because it takes a world-class filmmaker to really do it right.
Yeah, and there's a couple movies that are coming out. Guillermo del Toro's producing a movie. Oh God, what's it called?
Is it called E.T., Blade Runner,
E.T., Blade Runner,
Tron, or Star
or
Trek 2?
Tron.
Or Star Trek 2?
No, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a remake. Things that go bump in the night, maybe, or something like that.
Well, he's a guy who can definitely.
But he's not directing.
No,
it,
but he's-
I
but
saw the
it-
trailer at Comic-Con, and it was like, or a segment from Comic-Con, and it was like, okay, that is creepy.
If he, but that's the thing too. Creepy. You don't get creepy a lot.
No, I know.
You don't get atmosphere a lot.
Atmosphere is really key in horror movies. I mean, that is it. When you think back on like Friday the 13th, it was that cabin in the woods, creepy. The foggy stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's the stuff where, those are the creepy moments that really stay with you. You know what I mean?
Now, Scream 4, not that film, but still, it's okay in its own right.
Yeah.
So that's the only film we're talking about, and you didn't even talk about it.
I barely
You
talked.
didn't even see it. A Rent. This weekend in movies.
Always got to give him the button.
I love it. Bring it back. Bring it back.
All right, so your favorite horror film? Go.
Oh God, my favorite horror film. I'm not a big horror guy. I'm gonna say I'm not a big horror guy. Probably one of the 80s, maybe.
The Shining. Say The Shining.
Oh, I like The Shining, but it gets a little boring in the middle. I mean, no offense to The Shining. It does. You watch that now. You watch that movie now, and in the middle, you're sort of like, oh God, stab somebody, please. You know what I mean?
Where's Scatman Crothers? Where's the axe?
yeah, exactly. Johnny, where are you? Go.
Okay, say Alien.
Aliens. Well, I don't really. I mean, that's sci-fi. I mean, Aliens would be mine if that was considered horror, but I see that as sci-fi.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
All right, well, here's the thing.
So that was a horrible evasion question answer.
It really was.
It really was.
I have to say, you're not answering my questions
No,
very well.
I'm-
Good night, everyone.
You know
Alex
what?
Albrecht, what?
You know what? Okay, here we go. I'm gonna say The Orphanage.
Ooh, good
Yeah,
one.
that was a really great horror movie.
Going foreign.
Yeah, I had to go that far.
Orphanage, by the way, we're not doing that on Buy, Rent, or Burn later, which we'll get to in a few
Yeah.
minutes, but that would be
That's
a buy.
yeah, oh, most definitely. Yeah.
Very good film. Very well shot.
Yep.
Very atmospheric, like we're talking about.
and there was some creepy stuff when she's knocking on the wall to get the kids to come. Oh boy, that was I don't know what she was saying. Blap blap, knock on the door. Whatever it was, but You jump when you see it. It's gonna creep your ass out. I mean, that is creepy stuff.